We're now going to demonstrate how to troubleshoot and rectify thermostatic control problems and the on-off control for a twin-control thermostatic shower valve. The top handle is the on-off control, turning the water from off with the handle pointing upwards to on with the handle at the side. The bottom handle is the thermostatic control, turning the water from its maximum hot preset position to the cold position. To take the shower valve apart, use the Allen key supplied with the product to remove the control handles. Carefully remove the nut at the end of the handles and it can easily be taken off. Put them in a safe place to prevent damage to any other fittings. A Phillips screwdriver is required to remove the control knobs. Carefully remove these by turning the screw anti-clockwise and pulling the knobs away from the spline of the product. Once again, put these in a safe place. When the handles and knobs have been removed, the back plate can then be prized away from the wall. Simply pull gently towards you. Again, put the back plate in a safe place. We're now going to explain how to troubleshoot for continual dripping of the shower valve, which will mean the checking and possible replacement of the on-off control. First, suspend the water supply to the product. On either side of the thermostatic control, top and bottom, there are two screws. Turn these fully clockwise. This turns off the hot and cold water feed to the shower valve. To remove the on-off control, unscrew the chrome decorative collar by hand, which reveals the on-off control valve, which has got a hexagonal nut. To remove this, you will need an adjustable spanner, turning anti-clockwise to break the seal. Once loosened, remove the cartridge by hand. Next, flush the valve through by turning on the hot or cold supply that was previously isolated. This will mean that a bit of water will flow into the shower cubicle or bath. Flushing through allows any debris that has built up in the valve to be cleared. When this is done, turn the water supply off again. To replace with a new cartridge, place this into the shower valve body and screw in gently by hand to finger tight until there is some resistance. Then secure fully into the body of the valve using an adjustable spanner. We're now going to demonstrate how to remove the thermostatic cartridge, which will allow servicing for temperature fluctuations or temperature setting and control. Firstly, remove the override ring. This is made of plastic and is quite fragile, so remove carefully and put it in a safe place. Next, remove the chrome decorative collar, unscrewing it by hand. This leaves exposed a threaded nut with two flats either side of the brown thermostatic cartridge. Loosen this carefully with an adjustable spanner by getting a grip onto the flat parts of the nut, taking great care not to damage the external thread of the rest of the nut. Gently turn anti-clockwise to a position where it can be undone by hand. Carefully extract it from the body of the valve. This has released the thermostatic cartridge, which can now be pulled out and either replaced or soaked in descaler to remove limescale. This allows the whole product to be serviced without having to get behind the wall. In some instances it may be quite difficult to remove the thermostatic cartridge by hand. It's not worth putting a metal tool like the adjustable spanner onto the plastic body because you will damage the plastic cartridge. What you can do, though, is to take one of the control knobs and relocate it onto the spline of the handle and tighten the screw up just half a turn. This then allows some grip with your fingers to get behind the handle and pull the cartridge out of the body of the valve. If you've been sent a replacement cartridge, it's imperative that it's relocated into the housing in the correct position. At the side of the thermostatic housing, there are two semicircular notches machined into the body of the valve. These correspond to the square lugs on the outside of the thermostatic cartridge. That square lug needs to be located into the notch on the left-hand side of the thermostatic housing to ensure that the hot water comes into the correct place in the cartridge. If the hot water comes into the wrong place, the cartridge simply will not work. Make sure there's no debris or any other foreign body in the body of the valve. Then gently push the cartridge into the body of the valve, ensuring the lug on the cartridge is lined up with the half-circle machined out notch on the left-hand side of the housing, taking particular care not to force it at any stage. You should hear a small click when the cartridge is fully pushed in. This is the O-rings fitting into their final position. Once the cartridge is installed, the locking nut needs to be relocated by hand, turning it clockwise, then fully tightened with an adjustable spanner. Take care not to over-tighten it. Before any decorative chrome trims are put back on, return the water supply to the valve by opening up the screws that were shut off at the start of the operation. This allows you to ensure that there is no seepage of any water around the nut that is securing the thermostatic cartridge in place. If there were to be any leakage now, it would be evident around the circumference of the locking nut that has just been replaced. Once you've established that there are no leaks, the valve is ready to be calibrated. Before calibration, you can refit most of the chrome trim set, including the collar on the thermostatic section of the valve. The backplate can also be refitted and, where necessary, sealed to the wall with silicone. Finally, the on-off control knob can be screwed back on. We're now ready to calibrate the reinstalled cartridge. This ensures the temperature is set at the correct position. When you purchased this valve, the preset hottest temperature you could achieve was 43 degrees C. It's important to set the valve back to around this temperature again to prevent scalding. To do this, the plastic override ring needs to be relocated onto the cartridge. There's a blue line that's etched onto the override ring that needs to be lined up with this raised section here on the thermostatic cartridge. Once the override ring is in place, like so, it gives a stop position, so that when the thermostatic control handle is located properly onto the spline, it prevents the handle turning past that point. Ideally, the temperature for that stop position point should be about 43 degrees. You need to physically test the temperature of the water while the shower is running to find your own comfortable showering temperature. This ensures it will not be too hot for you or your children, as the hot water temperature in your house could be as high as 65 degrees. If you just slightly push the control knob onto the spline, it will not locate against the stop position on the override ring. This then allows you to rotate the spline of the cartridge fully left towards hot or fully right towards cold to achieve your comfortable showering temperature. Once you have found this comfortable temperature, take the control knob off, locate the brass fitting that's shown here on the inside of the knob, and put the knob back onto the spline so that the brass fitting butts up against the stop position on the plastic override ring. Now the knob should not turn past the temperature that you have set. You can now take a thermometer and test the temperature. It will probably be around the 38-40 degree mark. If you want to readjust slightly to make it hotter, you just pull the knob away from the override ring, turn the spline anti-clockwise slightly, then take the knob off and relocate it against the stop position. Similarly, to make it slightly colder, do the same but turn the spline clockwise. Get the knob to a position where the temperature is at the hottest you would like, then check that it will turn fully back to the cold position and then return back to the hottest position. Once you're happy, locate the screw, washer and circlip into the centre of the control knob and tighten it up with your fingers. Then fully tighten it with a screwdriver. Finally, the thermostatic and on-off control handles need to be relocated in their original positions by using the Allen key in the Allen key fitting. The shower valve is now ready for use.